Hey guys, miss you a ton today, especially as I look at coming up on the 4th of July weekend. I'm going to get 4 days off and I'm going to do some awesome hiking in the Alps, possibly some bike riding in Switzerland. Wish that you guys were here with me to enjoy some of the awesome scenery, pending I don't get rained out. Rain's been pretty bad the last few days, but listen, in this particular episode of my best advice for you, I want to give you some quick advice on how to take time to feel good about your work. It's a really, really important subject that I've learned over the years. Just being able to sit back and enjoy the work that you've done after you've finished is such an important part of the day or important part of the project. Taking that time, even if it's just a few minutes, to sit back and take it in. If you do this at the end of a project or at the end of a workday, it's going to do three things inside of you. The first thing it's going to do is, if you take time to feel good about what you've done and what you've accomplished when you finished it, it's going to build a deep sense of gratitude for the skills that you have. You're going to feel so pumped up and so awesome that you know how to do that work. Even if it's simple, cutting the grass, changing the oil in your car, changing the brakes on your car, repainting your room. Things that may feel really simple. You have skills to do those things. Some people don't have those skills. And it took time to learn how to do what you just did. It took time. It took some practice. You probably made some mistakes before you did the thing that you just did. But if you let yourself sit back and relax and enjoy and take it in, then you're allowing yourself to build some gratitude because, hey, I'm awesome at what I just did. And that's a good thing to feel, even if it's small. I love that about work. As simple as, of course, you guys know I love working in the yard. So there is nothing like cutting the grass and then sitting on the front porch with Chick-fil-A tea that your mom usually brings me with the crunchy ice, and swinging on the front porch and just admiring the job I did cutting grass. Is it hard? No, it's not hard. But I learned how to do it when I was 12, and I'm pretty damn good at it. And I can make it look sharp. And sometimes I like to crisscross how I cut so that the lawn looks cool. Other houses we have, maybe so, but this yard we've got now, right? Lots and lots of weeds, but the point is the same. The cutting the grass, the weeding around the fence, the weed eating, pulling the weeds in the garden bed. It's simple things, but I learned how to do those things, and there's nothing like sitting back and enjoying that when I'm done doing those things, because hey, I know how to do that, and I'm pretty awesome at it. And that's really important. The second thing about sitting back and enjoying the work is that it allows you to enjoy your maturing craftsmanship. Kind of builds off the first one. The more you do a thing, the better you get at it. And you're getting better at what you're doing, no matter how small or insignificant the task seems. There's a tendency when you're young to disproportionately view some work as less important than other work, right? This is how society works. We look at jobs like working at McDonald's or Hardee's, or being a garbage man, or a bag boy at a grocery store. We tend to look at some of those jobs as lesser, but that's not true, because it takes skill to bag groceries appropriately. Ask any woman who has to unbag groceries when she gets home or has to tote them around. Ask me. That was my first official job where I got paid by a company, was bagging groceries, and there is a right way to do it, and there's skill involved in doing it well. Kirk, you used to work at McDonald's, so you know. I mean, there is some skill involved in cooking the food. You know, sure, it's frozen, you pull it out, you throw it in the thing, but there is craftsmanship involved in bagging groceries. There's craftsmanship involved in building a hamburger at McDonald's. There's craftsmanship involved in being a garbage man. All of that involves craftsmanship. So when you get done doing your day's work or you get done working on a project, sit back and enjoy it. Take time to enjoy it, because the second thing it builds inside of you is a marked perception that your craft is maturing. And that's very important, because if you don't feel like you're progressing in what you're learning how to do, no matter how insignificant, you don't feel that progression, then you're going to quit. You're going to quit doing it. And you're going to get frustrated with it. And it's going to bore you, and you're going to get irritated. So I'm telling you, a way to cultivate the craftsmanship that's required in almost anything we touch is to sit back and take time to enjoy that. The third thing that's going to do inside of you, developing this habit inside of you to take time and enjoy the work at the end of it or at the end of a project, is going to build a buffer of encouragement inside of you for those times when you're going to feel shitty about what you did, or when you feel like you did a shitty job. Those are hard times. When you did something and you feel like I've done it 1,000 times, or you're just trying something for the brand new for the first time or the third or fourth time, and it doesn't really go the way you wanted it to. I think of things like some of you kids have tried to cook things in the kitchen. Sometimes it didn't go very well, and so you just don't do it again, or you kind of beat yourself up over it, or you look at yourself like you don't really know, what the hell you're doing. You guys were raised by two firstborns. Your mom's a firstborn, I'm a firstborn. We tend to be controlling and perfectionistic. And you guys have therefore inherited a tendency, whether you recognize it or not by now, that when you're trying to do something for the first or second time and it doesn't really turn out like you thought it would or wished it would, you get frustrated pretty quick. You feel internally like, I should have this. I should know how to do this. Why can't I pull this off? I know, because I grew up that way. I was raised by a dad who was a firstborn. And that's sort of the firstborn tendency, which, I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of that. But because you have that tendency, and I've seen it in all of you, when you try to do something the first or second time and you don't do it, you get frustrated. So the reason why it's important to sit back and take time to enjoy the work when you're done doing the work or when you're done with the project is because the enjoyment of that is building up this buffer inside of you, so that the buffer of encouragement. You're encouraging yourself so that when the time comes and you're struggling, that natural tendency to want to do it right the first time when you can't do it, you're going to get a little discouraged, but you're not going to get so discouraged or disparaged or depressed. You're not going to feel like your life is falling apart. You're not going to feel like you suck, or you're not going to beat up on yourself as much or shame yourself, because you've taken time before and enjoyed all the other places where you've done really well. So reward yourself when you're finished doing something. Part of taking the time to sit back and enjoy things is rewarding yourself. The Chick-fil-A tea with the crunchy ice, for me, after a grass cutting, that's my reward. When you get done, doing something that you feel like is particularly challenging, celebrate it, little things. Give yourself a few moments to look at all that you've done and let the good feeling come over you about it. Go have a beer. Go have a beer with some friends. Feel good about yourself, feel good about your work, and then and only then, when you've given yourself these moments to sit back and enjoy what you're doing, then, and only then, after you've given yourself time, will it then be time to let the inner critic speak to you about what you did. You missed a spot cutting the grass. You missed a section of weed eating the fence. You left an oil spot on the driveway. You missed a spot painting, whatever it is. You missed a line of code when you're trying to develop a website. You missed drying a spot, in the water and mold restoration area. Whatever it is that you guys do, you're going to have an inner critic, but don't let the inner critic start talking to you until you've